Hello everyone, I hope you're well and welcome back to my channel. Today's tutorial shall be a pattern drafting tutorial and I'll be showing you how to draft an illusion neckline. If you're new to this channel, you're welcome. This is Donlarrie and here on this channel, I upload sewing tutorials and pattern drafting. Kindly subscribe and don't forget to put on your notification bell so you get notified anytime I upload a new video. So guys, let's get started. So to get started, you will need your dartless basic bodice just like I have here. If you are here to watch my tutorial on how to draft your basic bodice, I'll put the link down in the description box so that you can watch it. So here we have the shoulder line, which is the top line. We have the upper chest line, the bust line, the under bust line, and the waist line. And also I've created the neckline, although we're not going to be using this neckline because we are creating an off-shoulder pattern, but this will serve as a guide for you, especially if you are making your own a normal bodice, not an off-shoulder. So this is the shoulder slope and this is the armhole curve. So once you have this, the first thing you want to do is to place the dart and create the side seam. So you can make use of the normal armhole princess dart or the classic princess dart, so depending on what you want. So for this tutorial, we're going to be using the armhole princess dart, and the first thing you want to do is to divide your nipple to nipple measurement by 2. So on your bust line, you're going to be inputting whatever you get. So here I'll be inputting 3/4 inch because the nipple to nipple measurement I'm working with is 7.5 inches. So whatever you mark here on the bust line, you will go to the waistline and mark the same. So once you mark that, you square up the line from the waistline. So this is the apex of the bust or the bust point. So from the apex of the bust, you will mark down 3/4 inch. And then we're going to be placing the waist dart. So now on the under bust, I'll be inputting 1.5 inches. You can use 1.5 inches and you can use up to 2 inches depending on how large your bust is. So I'm marking 1.5 inch there, and I will also mark it on the waistline. So once you mark this, then you connect this point together to create the waist dart. So once you've done this, then you move up to the armhole area in order to create the armhole princess dart. And then at the midpoint of your armhole depth, which is here, you will also mark it here. And then you draw a curved line from here straight to the bust point. So like this. Once you've done this, from your bust point upward, mark 3/4 inch like this. Then you come to the midpoint of your armhole, you mark down 1 inch like this, and then you connect this point to this point like that. So, and this is what you will have. So before we reshape this part, this 1 inch that you mark down, you will need to mark it on this other line, because by the time you want to join the two parts together, you won't be short on the fabric. So I just mark 1 inch there, and now we extend this line. And then the next thing we want to do is to create a new armhole curve. But because we are making an off-shoulder pattern, we're not going to be creating a deep armhole curve like we have on the basic bodice. But if you are making a normal top, you create your normal deep armhole curve. So for the off-shoulder, you will place your curved ruler slightly like this. You can see the way I place it. So compared to the deep curve that we have here, if I want to make a deep curve, this is how I will place it. So can you see the difference? So here I will just place it slightly like this. Then I will create the new armhole curve. So can you see the difference between these two curved lines? So once you've done that, then we're going to reshape this part because our bust area is round and not pointed. So you blend these parts together So you create a kind of curved or round shape like this. Then you come to your under bust and also make it curve around there. So for this line, so you will need to blend this line that is coming from the armhole to this line. So I'll just place my ruler like this. Then I will blend it together. So this is what you should have. If you don't have it like this, you will have a kind of funny shape around the bust area. So now we've eliminated this part, this little part. So you need to make that adjustment anytime you are drafting your armhole princess dart. So, and this is what we have. So now we're going to be creating the side seam before we create our illusion or deep V neckline. So to create the side seam, you divide your bust measurement by 4. So the bust measurement I'm working with is 38 divided by 4. I will have 9.5 inches. So I'm marking 9.5 inches here. Now we had 1.5 inch seam allowance, and then you mark the same thing on your bust line. You divide your bust measurement by 4, add your seam allowance. So I'm adding 1.5 inch seam allowance, and then you come to your waistline, divide your waist measurement by 4. Then you add your dart allowance. So I'm adding 1.5 inch dart allowance and 1.5 inch seam allowance. Then you create the side seam. So once you've created your side seam, then you will also need to adjust your armhole curve. So you can see what I have here. So I will just adjust the armhole curve. So like this. And now we adjust. Can you say that? So now that we have done this, the next thing we want to do now is to create our illusion neckline. So to create the illusion neckline, you come to your shoulder tip here, and depending on how off you want your top or your blouse to be, so we're going to be using 2 inches for this tutorial. So I'll just mark 2 inches like this. So just like I've said, that depending on how off you want it, so you can go below 2 inches, you can go up to 2.5 or 3 inches depending on how wide you want your off shoulder blouse to be. So we're just using 2 inches here. So you mark 2 inches here. So once you mark that 2 inches, you come to your upper chest line, and at your upper chest line you will need to mark depending on how wide you want this part to be. So I will mark 1.25 inch. You can mark up to 1.5 inches depending on how wide you want it. And then you also go to your waistline. At your waistline you mark depending on how wide you want it. You can decide to stop your deep V neckline at your bust line or your under bust or your waistline. So depending on where you want to stop it. So for the purpose of this tutorial, we're going to be drawing it down to the waistline. So on the waistline now, we're going to be marking 0.125, which is half of 0.25. But if you want it wide at the down part, you can mark 0.25. So like this. And then we're going to be connecting this part to this part and to this part using the curved part of the ruler. So after drawing it, this is what I have. So I'm just going to blend this around here because I want to create a very nice V shape. So from here now, I will just blend it up. So can you see that? So that we have a very nice V shape. So this is what we have. And this part from here to this part will be the yoke. So I'll just label this as the yoke. So if you're not making an off shoulder, all this part will be your yoke. So this will be the yoke. So if you're making an off shoulder, this will be the yoke. From the upper chest line down to the waistline will be the yoke. And also you can go up above the upper chest line depending on how open you want it. So there is no rule about that. You can go up above your upper chest line. But if you're making a normal top, not an off shoulder, this whole part will be the yoke. So I'll be cutting it out now. So when you want to cut on the fabric, you add your joining allowance to the waistline. Then you will also add your seam allowance to the dart line. And then you add your seam allowance to this part, to the armhole area as well. So I will cut this out like so. After cutting it out, this is what we have. So this is the yoke part of it. So can you see what we have here? So if your own is not an off shoulder, this part will be the yoke. This is exactly what we're going to be cutting out for the yoke. All you will need to do is to add your seam allowance to this side. Add your seam allowance to this side. You do the same to this side, because you're going to be joining this together to this. And then also you will add a seam allowance to the dart area. But if your own is an off shoulder, your yoke will start from the upper chest line down to this part. So this will be the yoke for the off shoulder, or you can go above the upper chest line depending on how open you want it. So this is what we have. So now we're going to be drafting the back pattern. So to create the back pattern, you're going to be needing your back basic bodice, just like I have here. So I've created the neckline, the shoulder slope, the armhole curve. I've placed the dart, and also I've created the side seam. So, and also as you can see at the center back, you will need to add your zip allowance, the zip allowance of 1.5 inch. So this is what we have. So now we want to modify this pattern to create the off shoulder pattern. So the first thing we want to do is to place our dart. So as you can see, I already have the waist dart here. So we're going to be using a princess dart for the back. So all you will just need to do is to come to the middle point of your armhole here and draw a curved line down to the bust point. So this is the normal basic waist dart for the back. So we're going to be drawing the curved line now from this point to the bust point. So now we're going to be creating the off shoulder. So to create the off shoulder, whatever you mark for the front, which is 2 inches, that is what we're going to be marking for the back. So you will mark 2 inches here. So once you've marked this, then you're going to be marking the neck depth for the back. So depending on how low you want it, so you can mark 4 inches, 5 inches, 6 inches, depending on how low you want it. So I'll be using just 5 inches here. So I'm just going to mark 5 inches from the center back line, and then I will connect this to this point. So this is what you will have for the back. And also remember that the armhole curve is not going to be as deep as this, so you make the same adjustment for the back. So I'm just going to create another slanted armhole curve for the back. So this is what the back armhole curve will look like. So like this, and this is what you will have for the back. So once you've done this, then you can go ahead and add your seam allowance to the waistline, to the neckline, and also to the armhole. So you can also do that on the fabric. So I will be cutting this out now, then I will show you how to draft the sleeve. So now we want to draft the sleeve for our off shoulder illusion neckline pattern. And the easiest way is to make use of the basic sleeve pattern, especially if you're a beginner. So as you can see, I have the basic sleeve pattern here. If you're here to watch my tutorial on how to draft a basic sleeve pattern, I'll put the link down in the description box so that you can watch it. So as you can see, I have the basic sleeve pattern here. So the first thing you want to do is to measure that 2 inches. So I will just show you again. So if you remember these 2 inches that we measured before we created our off shoulder pattern from the shoulder tip. So these 2 inches from here, this is the shoulder tip, this is the upper part of the back. So from here to here we measure 2 inches. So on your sleeve you're going to be measuring that 2 inches. So that is the first thing. So you measure that 2 inches like this. So once you mark that 2 inches down, then the next thing you want to measure is the width of your sleeve. So depending on how wide you want it, you can make use of 3 inches. So I'll be using 3 inches in this tutorial. So I'll just mark 3 inches for the length of the sleeve. And then we're going to, so from here now you draw a curved line through to this part of the sleeve, which is the sleeve head curve. So you draw it like this. So don't draw it using your straight ruler. So if you draw it, it will be too wide. So you can see the difference between what I drew here and the straight line. So you draw it like that. So now here we mark 3 inches. So whatever you mark here, you will add half an inch to it. So I will come here now and mark 3.5 inches. Like that. Then I will connect this to this. As simple as this. So I will just cut this out. So can you see what we have for the sleeve? So this is what the off-shoulder sleeve will look like. So guys, we've come to the end of today's tutorial. So this is what we came up with. So you can see what the front looks like. So if you're making an off-shoulder, just take this out of it. But if not, you will need this as the yoke. So if you're making an off-shoulder, your yoke will stop here, just like I've mentioned earlier. So this is what the sleeve will look like. So by the time we join the center panel of the front to the side panel, you know, we're going to have something like this. And then our sleeve, we're going to be fixing our sleeve like this. So this is what you will have. And then this is what the back looks like. So if you're making an off shoulder, you don't need this part. So this is what you need. And this is how your sleeve will look like on it after fixing it. Can you see that? But if you're not making an off shoulder, you're going to be needing the yoke for the back as well. And this is what it will look like. Thank you guys for watching this tutorial. I hope you find it helpful. If yes, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Leave your comment down in the comment section. If you have any question, feel free to ask your question. Share and subscribe to my channel if you're here to do so. Till I see you guys in my next tutorial. Have a wonderful day. Bye.